A very good day, children. Now today we will be doing our Oxford Advantage English students book. We will be doing chapter 3, Ice Skating. Now before I begin the chapter, I hope everybody knows the meaning of skating, right? I think most of you know it also. And ice skating means skating on ice. There were special shoes for it. Okay, let us proceed with the chapter. Follow the chapter as I read. What happens when 3 children go ice skating? So this is a story about 3 children who go for ice skating. Okay. Joe and Amy were sisters. Their friend Laurie lived next door to them. The 3 children always played together. One winter, the 3 children decided to go to the river. If the river was frozen, they wanted to skate on it. Now this is a story about 2 sisters, Joe and Amy. They are sisters, okay? And they have a friend, Laurie, who lived next door to them. Who lived next door to them means he was their neighbor. Now remember, Joe and Amy are girls, they are sisters, okay? And Laurie is a boy. The 3 children always played together. Like you have friends, right? You all play together. So they were 3 good friends, they were played together. One winter, the 3 children decided to go to the river. It was a winter season. It was the winter season and they said, okay, let us go and play by the river. And they decided that if the river was frozen, they would skate on it. Okay, they would do some skating on it. Now, what is the meaning of frozen? Frozen means jama hua. In your freeze, in your refrigerator, you see the ice, no, the water is frozen, the ice cubes, they are frozen water, jama hua, okay? Baraf jamna ya jama hua is frozen, okay? Let us continue. Joe and Laurie, the 2 older children, ran ahead of Amy. It was not far from the river, but both were ready before Amy reached them. Laurie did not see her coming. He was carefully skating along the shore, checking to see if ice was thick enough to skate on. He shouted, "I'm going on to the first bend to see if it's all right before we begin to race." Now, let's see, they wanted to go to the river, and if the river was frozen, they would skate on it. Okay, and luckily that day they found the river frozen. Now Joe and Laurie, they were the elder children. There are 3 children, no? See here, Joe, Amy and Laurie. So what is said? Joe and Laurie are elder children. They are big, okay? And Amy is the youngest. So they went ahead of Amy. Ahead means aage. First, they were ahead, aage. It was not far from the river, but they were ready. These 2 children, Joe and Laurie, they were already ready for the skates. But Amy wasn't ready yet, okay? So Laurie, he's just going, okay? He did not see them coming. And he was carefully skating along the shore, means kinar pe. He was skating here on the shore. Look at the picture, see, on the shore. And he said that he will go first. He said that I want to go first so that I can check if it is okay for us to skate or not, okay? So he's being very careful. So this tells that Laurie was very careful person, okay? He wanted to see if it is safe for them to skate or not. Otherwise the ice will break, no? And they will fall down. So he wants to check, okay? Amy saw Laurie skate away, looking like a young Russian in his furry coat and cap. Joe was skating nearby. She heard Amy panting after her run. Amy was stamping her feet and blowing on her fingers as she tried to put her skates on. Joe didn't turn around and went slowly zigzagging down the river after Laurie. As Laurie turned the bend, he shouted back, "Keep near the shore. The ice is thin in the middle." Right? Now they all are ready. Joe and Laurie are already ready. Amy isn't ready yet. Now Amy is very far away, and from far she could see that Laurie is skating away, and he was looking very good like a young Russian. He was wearing a furry coat and a cap, okay? And Joe was skating near Laurie, okay? They two were at the front, isn't it? That's why they are skating nearby. And Joe heard Amy panting. Panting means heavy breathing. When you are very tired, you pant, okay? This is not the pant that you wear, baby. This is the panting means. This panting means you are breathing heavily when you get tired, okay? And she was running. Amy was stamping her feet. Stamping her feet means pound feet now. When you cry, when you want something from your parents desperately, you stamp your feet. You jump on the floor, no? That is called stamping the feet. And she was blowing on her fingers as she tried to put on her skates. Now Amy is small, isn't it? So what she was doing, it was very cold, blowing on her fingers. This line says that it was so cold that she is blowing air from her mouth, okay, on her fingers. In the winter season we generally do that, isn't it, when we feel cold. So now Joe didn't turn back, and she was skating zigzagging. Zigzagging means like this. Cross, cross, okay, like this, cross, cross. She was going down. As Laurie turned the bend, when Laurie turned the bend, he said, "Keep to the shore, kinar pe rehna. The ice is thin in the middle. Don't go in the middle. Do not skate in the middle. Keep to the shore, okay, keep to the shore. The ice is very thin in the middle. The shore is the best place to skate." I hope you understand the meaning of panting, stamping, zigzagging. Yes. And now this line is very important. Blowing on her fingers means that it was very cold that winter day. Okay, it was very, very cold. So she is blowing air from her mouth. Okay, we do that in the winter. I am repeatedly explaining you. Now let us go back. Joe heard, but Amy was too far to hear him. Joe looked back and saw Amy start skating and thought, "She must have heard." Joe started to skate towards the bend. Now Joe was near Laurie. They are not very far, isn't it? So she heard, but Amy was very far. She could not hear it. But Joe thought that Amy has heard it. So she thought in her mind, maybe Amy has heard it, so I will not repeat it. So I will just go. So she also went away skating towards the shore. But mind it, Amy had not heard the warning. She had not heard the warning. Okay? Now, Laurie had skated round the bend and Joe was just at the turn. Amy started to skate towards the smoother ice in the middle of the river. Now, Laurie, he was in the front, right? She had already finished his first bend. He was about to finish the first bend. Joe was also at the turn. She was also heading that side. Okay, but Amy, she had not heard the warning, so she began to skate in the middle of the ice. And do you know what was in the middle of the ice? It was very thin. The middle of the river was very thin. So what happens? She fell down. Suddenly, Joe stopped and stood still. Joe turned around just in time to see Amy fall. The thin ice broke with a crash and there was a splash of water. All of a sudden, Joe stood. She was standing still. She was going, but all of a sudden she heard something and she stood still. एकदम चुपचाप से खड़ी हो गई. And when she turned around, what did she see? Amy had fallen down. Okay, the middle of the river was thin. She could not skate on it and she just fell down with a splash. Chabak! It was like pak. okay, and she fell down, and just Joe saw it. And water came out from that ice, okay, because it has broken. The ice has broken and water has come out, okay. Now let us read. Joe heard Amy scream loudly. And what happened? Amy fell down and she screamed loudly. Ah! Okay, loudly. Scream matlab chillana. Joe tried to call Laurie, but her voice was gone. Now Joe is shouting. She's trying to shout, Laurie, come, please help. Amy has fallen down. She wants to say that, but she's not able to say that because she's so scared. She's so scared. It seems as if her voice is gone, as if she cannot speak. She's so scared. Okay, she's very scared. She tried to rush forward, but her feet seemed weak. She's trying to help. She's sometimes thinking, should I go there? She's sometimes thinking, should I go here? But her feet seems weak. It seems as if she cannot move. So all this line says that she is very, very scared, okay? She could only stand, staring with terror-stricken face at Amy's blue hood above the water. She could only stand and stare, and her face was terror-stricken. The meaning of terror-stricken means very, very afraid. बहुत ज़्यादा डर जाना. Please pay attention to the word meaning. Terror-stricken means बहुत ज़्यादा डर जाना. Okay, and she is not able to move. She is not able to speak. Okay. All of a sudden, she heard Laurie shout, "Bring a rail from the fence! Quick, quick!" All of a sudden, she heard Laurie speak. "Bring a rail from the fence! Hurry up!" Fence means beda. Okay, in Hindi you call it beda. In fence means actually in a garden. Around a garden you put a bamboo boundary, a boundary. Okay, that is called fence. Okay, and rail from the fence means you can bring the stick, that is the fence, whatever the fence is made of, please bring that stick. Okay, and he's saying, hurry up, please bring it. Joe, hurry up. Okay. For the next few minutes, Joe blindly did what Laurie said. Like Joe does not have any sense. Blindly means bina soche samjhe, without thinking. Blindly means without thinking. She is not using her brains at all. Whatever Laurie is saying, she is doing that. Laurie asked her to bring the rail. No, she just brought it. Laurie was lying flat on the ice, holding Amy up with his arm and hockey stick. See, Laurie, he's holding Amy. He's holding her in her arms. Okay, just trying to pick up so that she does not fall. Joe dragged a rail from the fence. Together they pulled Amy out, who was more frightened than hurt. Together they have pulled her out. Okay, she's falling in the water. She's all wet. They both pulled her out. She was more frightened than hurt means she didn't get hurt, but she was so frightened. All of a sudden what happened? ओके मतलब इसको ज़्यादा डर गई थी. इसे चोट नहीं आई थी, लेकिन ये ज़्यादा डर गई थी. अचानक से गिर गई ना, तो वो डर गई कि मेरा क्या होगा. ओके, वी मस्ट टेक हर होम एज फास्ट एज वी कैन. लेट्स रैप आवर वार्म थिंग्स राउंड हर while I take off her skates, said Laurie. He wrapped his coat around Amy and pulled at the straps of Amy's skate. Now Laurie is saying, we must hurry up. We will wrap all our warm clothes around her and we must take her home. We'll have to open her skates also. So see, he has opened his furry coat, right? And he has wrapped it, see? So that she feels warm. Joe has also opened her warm clothes. They have opened the skates. They have wrapped her with all their warm clothes, okay? Shivering, dripping and crying, they got Amy home. They all are shivering. It's so cold. They are shivering means kaapna, ठंड से या डर से कांपना. Okay, when it is very cold, you say no, ठिठुरन हो रही है, ठिठुरन हो रही है. You say no, very cold. They all are feeling very cold because it is winter. And see, they are wet also. Dripping means water is falling from their body, and they are crying. They all are crying because they are so scared. They are so scared. They got Amy home. Mrs. March, the mother of the girls, opened the door. Now the mother of these two girls is Mrs. March. Her name is Mrs. March. Remember, Mrs. March is their mother. She opened the door, okay? And she went. Laurie told her what had happened, and Laurie explained Mrs. March. We were going ice skating. She did not hear my warning. She was very far away, so she fell down. But now she is okay. Mrs. March calmly took care of Amy. Now Mrs. March did not scold them. Very calmly, very silently, very slowly, she took Amy, okay? Soon Amy fell asleep, wrapped up in the blankets before a hot fire. Now Mrs. March wrapped Amy in the blankets, put her in front of a fire, and she fell asleep, okay? All this time, Jo ran about with her clothes dirty and her hands cut and bruised by the ice and rails. Now, all this time, first Mrs. March was taking care of Amy, and Jo was running here and there. All this time, Jo ran about. Sometimes she's going here and there. All her clothes were dirty. Her hands were cut and bruised. Means it was hurt. You know why it was hurt? Because she pulled out the fence. Yes, she's a little girl, and to pull that out in winter, it's really dangerous. So she was hurt. When Amy was comfortably asleep, Mrs. March called Jo and began to bandage the hurt hands. Now Mrs. March took care of Amy, so now she has to take care of Jo also, right? So she called Jo, come here, I will heal your hand. So she put a bandage on the hurt